Good day everyone. So today we will be talking about pictographs. So first off, pictograph is a representation of data using images as symbols. At the end of the discussion, we will be able to describe what is a pictograph, learn the history of pictograph, know the functions of pictograph, and know the proper use of pictograph. Pictographs were used all over the world since 9000 BC and became popular after 4000 years later when they began to use logographic writing systems. The first pictorial signs appeared in 30,000 BC in the form of cave paintings. The oldest known pictographs of the Upper Paleolithic are the red ochre blobs among the El Castillo cave paintings, which could be dated back to at least 39,000 BCE.
So next is, in order for us to know about our topic, so here's are the terms and definitions of pictograph or pictogram. So first we have graph. Graph is a diagram showing the relation between variables, quantities typically of two variables, each measured along one of a pair axes at right angles. So it explains that diagrams such as a series of one or more points, lines, segments, curves, or areas that represents the variation of a variable in comparison with that of one or more other variables. So the other explanation is the collection of all points whose coordinates satisfy a given. So next term is data. So data is a fact and statistic collected together for reference or analysis. So it explains that it's the quantities, characters, or symbols, one which operations are performed by a computer, being stored and transmitted in the form of electrical signals and recorded in magnetic, optical, or mechanical recording media. So according to philosophy, data, things known or assumed as facts, making the basis of reasoning or calculation. So the next term is symbol. So symbol is a mark of character used as a conventional representation of an object, function, or process. So this is the letter of letters standing for a chemical element or a character in a musical notation. So it explains that a thing that represents or stands for something else, especially material object, representing something abstract, something that stands for something else. So a letter, character, or sign used instead of a word to represent a quantity, position, relationship, direction, or something to be done. So next is whole number. So a whole number is a number with no fractions. So the whole numbers are the part of the number system in which it includes all the positive integers from 0 to infinity. Whole numbers are the numbers without fractions, and it is a collection of positive integers and 0. It is represented by the symbol W, and the set of numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on. 0 is a whole, represents nothing or a null value. So next is fraction. So a fraction is a numerical quantity that is not a whole number. So it explains that small or tiny part, amount, or proportion of something. So a fraction from Latin word is fractus or broken. So it represents a part of a whole, or more generally, any number of equal parts. So when spoken in everyday English, a fraction describes how many parts of a certain size there are. So for example, 1/2, 8/5, 3/4, and etc. So next is numerical value. So a numerical value is a real number regardless of its sign, and it explains that It is also a quantitative value assigned to a letter of the alphabet, a sum obtained by adding together the numerical equivalents of the letters in a word or phrase. If two names had the same numerical value, this fact showed some relation between the individual. Leading or trailing spaces are removed before the string is evaluated. A numeric value contains only numbers assigned leading or trailing and a single decimal point. So next is frequency. So frequency is the number of times a data value occurs. So a frequency table is a table that lists items and shows the number of times the items occurs. And also frequency is a value in numbers that shows how often a particular item occurs in the given data set. So next is total. So a total is a comprisingly the whole number or the total amount. So it explains that it is the complete or absolute or a product of addition or the sum or the answer of an entire quantity. So next is equivalent. So it is the equal in value, amount, function, meaning, or etc. So it explains that a person or thing that is equal to or corresponds with another in value, amount, function, meaning, or etc. The term equivalent in math refers to the meanings, numbers, or quantities that are the same. So the equivalence of two such quantities shall be denoted by a bar over an equivalent symbol or equivalent sign. It also means a logical equivalence between two values or a set of quantities. Equivalence is similar but more universal than equality. If two sets of equations have the same solutions, we might consider them similar, but they are not identical. So that is our terms and their definition of what we used in pictograph or pictogram.
Hello, I am Novi Jane Berdalba and I'm about to discuss the steps or processes on how to create, calculate, and illustrate a pictograph. So we have 5 steps, and in order for you to better understand each step, we will discuss them with an example. So for example, we must represent how many were sold in each flavor of milk teas available in Leo's milk tea station in a day. So the first thing that we need to do is to collect the data of the different categories we want to represent. And then after that, we will form a table or list. Here's the table for our example. As we can see, the flavors are all listed there, as well as the number of milk teas sold. The second step is to review the collected data and based on it, pick a symbol or drawing that accurately represents the data. For our example, we could use a drawing or picture of a milk tea to represent the number of milk teas sold. The third step is to decide the frequency for one symbol. This can be done by setting a numerical value that one symbol will represent. In our example, we could put 1 cup of milk tea as equivalent to or represents 8 milk teas sold. The fourth step is when we are going to finally draw the pictograph by initially drawing 2 columns that represents the category and the data. And then after that, draw the actual symbols representing the frequencies. These symbols can be drawn as fractions as well if the frequency is not a whole number or based on the key. And your pictograph will going to look like this.
I am Laika Katara and I am going to discuss the two examples that I prepared for this topic, and I will also be showing the illustration of pictograph. Example number 1. In a party, there are 50 children served with different flavors of muffins prepared by their parents. After the party, the parents determined the flavor that the children loved by observing the flavors that they picked. The following shows the results. We can see in the graph are the flavor of muffins and the preferences of the children. Presented in the graph is the result of the children's preferences, since it says here that one muffin is equivalent to 10 children. It can also be gleaned that if we add and count the result of the chocolate chip muffin, it got the favor of 15 children, which means that the chocolate chip muffin is the tastiest among all the other flavors. So, while the carrot muffin only got chosen by 5 children, it means that this is the least favorable flavors among the children. So, the blueberry was also picked by 10 children. Same goes with the caramel flavored muffin that also got 10 of the children's preferences. For example number 2, Kevin likes to arrange a bouquet of flowers, and in fact, he is planning to open a little flower shop. He conducted a survey of his flower selections, and 100 of his possible customers participated. Below are the results of the survey. We can see in the graph are the flower collection and the customer's choice. We must remember that one bouquet represents 5 customers and half of the bouquet represents 3 customers, while 1/4 of the bouquet represents 2 of the customers. In order to determine the results, we need to add up all the equivalent numbers represented by the pictures. And as we can see that a pictograph shows the roses that got a total of 23 customers' choices. Following the roses is the tulip that got 22 of the customers' choices. And next is the lily that got the least of the customers' choices, showing only that 10 of the customers likes it. And the hydrangea flower showing the most of the customers' choices with a total of 30 customers choosing this kind of flower. And lastly is the daisy, which chosen by 15 of Kevin's possible customer. And with these results, Kevin will have an idea which flower selection or which kind of flower he will focus on in making a bouquet.
One of the objectives of our discussion is for the students to know the application and importance of pictograph. So here I am to discuss about when can we use pictographs and why is it important. First, pictographs can be used to display data in the form of images or icons, making the presentation more attractive and understandable. The use of pictograph is one of the simplest ways to represent a statistical data. If you want your simple data more engaging and interesting, you may use pictographs to make it more compelling for your audiences. Aside from this, it can also make your audience comprehend the information quickly. Second, pictographs may be used to create a suitable and useful nutrition pictograph designed as a quick tool to educate and assist consumers in selecting a healthier selection of packed foods. With the use of these nutrition pictographs, which contains suitable visuals, colors, and layout compositions, the possibility of the consumers to have a clear, consistent, and quick way to obtain information is high. This can help them most, especially those consumers who have a low awareness level to read and interpret numerical data to make informed choices about the food they buy and consume. Third, the development of pictographs can be used to assist low literacy patients in understanding pharmaceutical instructions. Patients' ability to understand information about their medication is crucial for safety and effectiveness. Health trainers like doctors and nurses use pictographs to train the low literate and illiterate people. These days, pictographs are the best strategy to train people who are unable to read to empower them for self-care. In addition, pictographs can be designed for people with different cultures, with different ages, and with different languages. Lastly, pictographs can be an effective way to transmit information about safety warnings to people who are unable to comprehend written text. This does not only for those illiterate people, but also for foreigners not speaking the local language. Each pictograph covers a specific type of hazards and is designed to be immediately recognizable to anyone handling hazardous materials. Those mentioned are just a few applications of pictographs. So without further ado, let's now proceed to its importance. So pictographs are used in many aspects of our daily life, not just in the field of mathematics, but also in medicine and even in providing information about safety concerns. Aside from its relevance in making data more fascinating and easy to understand, pictographs also have a number of remarkable importance in the field of literature. First of all, they have the ability to be more properly and swiftly interpreted than words. Aside from this, pictographs also aid persons with visual or literacy impairments in comprehending warnings. Furthermore, pictographs are more easily processed at a distance compared to textual information, although a distinction should be made between abstract symbols and more explicit icons.
So in conclusion, pictograph is a kind of data management that uses images and symbols, which is typically used in math like data handling. Pictograph or pictogram is very convenient that it even used by our own ancestors way back Paleolithic period. Let us just be guided that in order to make a pictograph or pictogram, we must follow the 4 steps, which is: first, collect the data. Second step is to review the collected data. Third step is to decide the frequency for one symbol. And last step is to when we are going to finally draw the pictograph by initially drawing 2 columns that represent the category and the data. So that's all for today. Thank you and have a great day ahead.